Can we start off with complete honesty? I am hardcore struggling in bringing this devotional to you guys. This week we have been talking about remembering, and it has made me think of something I once heard, that remembering is a biblical prescription for hope. And I'm realizing in my struggle of bringing this video that I'm lacking, that I am almost depleted of my hope bank. So if you find yourself where I'm at today, please know that you are not alone. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to remember the hard, but how hard it is to remember the good? Forgetting is an issue that has been around since humans have been on this earth. Thankfully, God has instituted various precepts to help his people remember, things like building altars and worship. Over and over again, God reminds his people to remember because he knows that our natural tendency is to forget. Today we are in John 14, and Jesus is preparing his disciples for his death and resurrection. He assures his followers that he will not leave them as orphans. He promises to send the Holy Spirit, the helper, the advocate, who would teach them and to help them remember. In God's kindness, he gives us a spirit living inside of us to help us remember his faithfulness, his goodness, his character, his truths. So, how can we resolve to remember? Building an altar can't look the way that it did in Genesis. I'm pretty sure my HOA would find me. So here are just some practical things that we can do. I've actually created an album on my phone, and I filled it with screenshots and videos and memories to remind me of the Lord's goodness in my life. Last May, my life group girls and we created a list called You're Gonna Love May, and this came from Annie F. Downs. And every day we just wrote one thing, one good thing, one way that we saw the Lord's kindness. You could also get an empty jar, and as you are experiencing God's faithfulness, write them down. How cool would it be to go back at the end of the year and see God moving in our life? The Lord is adamant about his people being intentional about remembering his goodness. He knows that remembering will help us. And friends, we all know that when you're in the valley, when you're in the storm, when you're in that pit, it can be the hardest to remember. But that is exactly what we're called to do. I'd love to end with one of my favorite verses when I am lacking in the hope bank. It is from Lamentations 3:19-24, and I just love it in the Message version. I'll never forget the trouble, the utter lostness, the taste of ashes, the poison I've swallowed. I remember it all. Oh, how well I remember the feeling of hitting the bottom. But there's one thing I remember, and remembering, I keep a grip on hope. God's loyal love couldn't have run out. His merciful love couldn't have dried up. They're created new every morning. How great is your faithfulness. I'm sticking with God. I'll say it over and over. He's all I've got left.